doctrines count on. They want humans to come and be and do and behave a certain way, do certain things. It's a system that is an old system, a four-dimensional system. It doesn't reflect the grandness and the beauty of a kind, benevolent, non-judging God. All four of these channels will be available to you, all of them, to everyone, not just members. And we started with the premise, number one, go back and listen to it, that God is not a dysfunctional father in the sky who's going to torture you forever unless you do something. And then, of course, that something that you have to do is very, very different from doctrine to doctrine. So dysfunctional are the doctrines of the planet. There was a time, and there still is, where if you believe one thing about how to worship this elusive God, and someone doesn't believe it, then you're allowed to kill them because they don't believe it. Do you see what men have done with the grandness of God? So why don't you sit for a moment and think to yourself, is this really the way it's supposed to be? Controversial, dear ones, we told you it would be. God knows your name, and from birth, old soul, just waiting for you to ask the question, is this true? Are you there? Is it possible I can sit in my closet alone, pretending to be, raise my hand and talk to that which is the creative source of the universe? And the answer is yes, because that is in you. Your soul is part of that. And there's a connection that you can have with this without anyone else, without a holy man there or a holy woman there, without a structure, without a building, without anything but your magnificence with the magnificence of the Creator. God knows your name, the most spectacular truth on earth. And I just gave it to you. So controversial that there are so many who will walk away and shake their heads and say, impossible, impossible, until they try it. Because when you start this process with pure intent, I'll tell you what happens. That hand that is outstretched takes yours and actually pulls you forward, because you've made the decision to find that which is so true and so magnificent and so beautiful. And it doesn't just lay there having been found. It takes you and says, I love you. Thank you for looking. Thank you for understanding. Now let's begin the rest of your life. Probably the most important thing we will ever channel to any of you I have just given. God knows your name, dear one. No matter what you've been told by anyone, think about it, sit there, and be loved. And so it is.
And while we are still in this beautiful space created by Kryon, I invite you to place your hands on your heart and silently or aloud, you may say these words. God knows my name. I am known by God. God knows my name. I am known by God. God knows my name. I am known by God. And you may gently release the hands from your heart. You may open your eyes if you've had them closed. And I want to welcome you back in to your body, back into this next section. And Lee, this is a fun one because we actually have two guests that are joining us.
It's the first time we've actually had two that would be on the same feed. And the subject is different too, because this is what I would call totally, and I haven't asked them what I would call sacred science. So
Yes.
it's not just science, it's not just spirituality,
Yes.
and we have a real mix here. And we're talking about focused life force energy.
And joining us will be Jeffrey Stegman and Clayton Stedman. So first of all, I want to just find out if Jeffrey, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Wonderful.
Nice to be here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And then we also want to make sure, Clayton, are you here?
Yes, I am here.
Excellent. Now, this is the Zoom that goes back and forth, and it senses the voice, as you probably have seen, and then the picture comes a little later. And one of you is coming from, I believe, Canada, and the other one from the U.S. So we have all of that, which I'm so thankful for that we can do. Focus Life Force Energy, we're abbreviating it as FLFE. Mm-hmm. These two gentlemen, it's so interesting, have similar names, so similar that they're only different by one letter. Clayton Stedman, Jeffrey Stegman, say, what are the odds they would get together doing what they're doing? Focused Life Force Energy, again, FLFE, is a technology that activates a high consciousness field. It recreates the feeling and the benefits of high consciousness, sacred places. Now, there's a lot more, and you're going to hear from them what they want to say about it. You can enjoy it in your home, your business, every day. And with FLFE everywhere, you can take high consciousness field anywhere you go and when you travel.
Now, in 2008, these two men came together with an inventor who had discovered a way to redirect and focus large amounts of life force energy, which is also known as subtle energy, onto an object. Using Jeff's experience in engineering and Clayton's extensive practice in consciousness kinesiology, they re-engineered the original device so that they can now broadcast a high consciousness field to specific locations around the world.
There's a lot more. So what we've asked them to do is just start from the beginning, start the show any way they want to explain what this is, perhaps how it happened, and what it means to us. So, gentlemen, take it away.
Well, this is Clayton. We were talking just before the show started, and we began with a prayer. And we wanted to just start off with a prayer. That's oftentimes how we run our meetings. So I'll do a little prayer and hand it over to Jeff. So we were asking that all the people that see this now and in the future are blessed in some way, that they are better off watching this video than they were if they hadn't have watched it. And we give thanks to Archangel Kryon, who brought us all together. And I'll pass that over to you, Jeff.
And as we ask to flow energy through the realms into this meeting, into the group, the four of us together, and supporting the four of us, and also each person watching now and in the future, that you're supported and better off, as Clayton said, for being here with us, and that the information that we present comes to you in a clear way, not just from what we say, but through the consciousness and the subtle energy of FLFE and what we're doing together.
That's great, guys. I don't remember a show we've had where our guest started that way. We've had many things. How did this occur? What got you together? And tell us more about this.
Well, it was really an inventor that I had. Well, for Jeff and I, we actually met through a mutual friend. I'll go back a little further. I have a private coaching practice that I specialize in business as a spiritual path. And I have a friend of mine who's been in the coaching business a long time, and he was working with Jeff, and he passed Jeff on to me as a referral because Jeff was interested in consciousness and was really focusing on that. in his business through a high consciousness culture. And so Jim introduced us, and we began working together. And a couple of years after that, I came across an inventor who had started trying to create a free energy device to be able to give people to put in their home so they could disconnect from the grid and be more free. And he wasn't able to do that, but he was able to focus life force energy on a small area within this technology. And Jeff thought that was very interesting, so we flew up to see the inventor, and that's how we met the inventor, or how Jeff and I met the inventor. So maybe I'll pass it over to you, Jeff.
Yeah, walking into that environment, the inventor's house, it was full of these stacks of plates and coils and objects of different shape, pyramids and spheres. And there was high-speed alternating current running through all of these stacks, which was part of this original sort of focusing of life force energy, or chi or prana. And it was such an environment. I mean, it was kind of a little house. It was stacked full of all of these, oscilloscopes and high-speed alternating current devices. And but what got me, the minute I walked in, I felt like I had just ascended or something. I moved into a state of consciousness that was really different. Everything just looked so bright and shiny. And we went out to lunch, and the people in the restaurant, everybody just looked so beautiful. And I could just look into their life and see what was beautiful about their gifts. And I knew, well, wow, we've stumbled into something that's creating a high consciousness field, as we came to know it, as we came to call it, that was really unique and different. And what was so interesting about it is that it works much in the same way as human consciousness, that we can activate a field anywhere in the world instantly. There's a quantum association that happens, and that it works much in the same way as Reiki or distance healing, or even as simple as you think of someone and they call you on the phone a minute later. That we believe that a field is activated when you think of someone. There's a unique identifier for that person. You're thinking of the essence of that person, that a field's activated around them. And then that makes that quantum connection. In the FLFE technology, which really is a consciousness technology, there are devices. They're centrally located. They don't go to the home. The quantum connection happens through a unique identifier. Do you want to talk about that? I'll pass it back over to you, Clayton.
Yes. So, as Jeff said, the technology works much the same as human prayer, is how we like to frame it. And there is a high consciousness zone in the output stack. So with the technology, there are input stacks where the energy comes from the ether or the air. There is a concept in Eastern medicine or Eastern traditions called ether, and it infers that there is more than just hydrogen and oxygen in the air. Their theory is that there is something called prana or chi or life force. And so there's a kind of an input stack that pulls that from the air, from the ether, the prana or chi, and accelerates and focuses on a very small area at the bottom of the output stack. And that's where we put the request to divinity that alter the quality of the environment. So, for example, the level of consciousness of the default settings within the control panel that you have access to as a subscriber, it defaults to 560 out of 1,000 on the Hawkins map, which is in the area of unconditional love. So for those of you who don't know about Dr. David Hawkins, he created a map of consciousness that goes from 1 to infinity. From 1 to 1,000 is the human realm. On that scale, 200 is integrity or courage, 500 is love, 600 is peace, 540 to 560 is unconditional love. So that is one of the qualitative aspects of the environment that we request to divinity in the output stack of the machine. And there's a lot of other requests we have in there, but that's one of probably thousands. Yeah.
So we started doing service work. So once we discovered the technology, we just decided to raise consciousness around the planet. And we spent all of 2012 getting on Google Maps and looking around the planet. And I should back up and say that, Dr. David Hawkins' work uses kinesiology or muscle testing to measure consciousness. And as I've heard in Kryon channelings, kinesiology or muscle testing can be a way to bypass the mind and access our biology directly. And you can use it to measure consciousness on a scale. And Clayton has sort of cracked the code and really learned how Dr. David Hawkins did that. And that was really the basis of the service work in the beginning, is how do you find those places that are low? And then if you apply the high consciousness field at those locations, does it change? And without kinesiology and the muscle testing, we just wouldn't know that we were really making this such a difference. And we now, Clayton's taught me, and I'm adept at it, and then we have several other people in the business. So we're checking the level of consciousness of all the properties on the service once a week, and then we're checking properties as they come on the service to make sure they're in that love zone, that unconditional love zone, which seems to be so important to support people in healing, in personal development, rising in consciousness, and in relationships too. We'll tell some stories about that. We have some words from our customers which say it much better than we could, I think.
Well, let's do that now.
Yeah.
I would love to hear some of those stories. I mean, the idea of creating a device where it sends out a specific location on the planet, a creation of a high consciousness field at a specific location. You can dial in to your device and have someone access that on a subscription service. I'd love to hear from them. I mean, we have it in our home, and it always feels like a sanctuary coming home. And this might seem a little weird, but I definitely notice my cut flowers that I buy from the store in the vases, they seem to last
a lot longer, don't they?
way beyond
Yeah.
what a normal bunch of roses in the vase should last for. That's just a physical thing I can see, but I also can feel the energy. But
I always thought that was Kryon. Now you're telling me that. No, you're right. You're right. Our flowers last longer than most.
so I would just love to hear other stories from people who are taking advantage of this.
Yeah, I've got a couple I pulled. We get so many, and I'll just have to if I get stuck because they're very emotional for me, I'll pass it to Clayton. So we had Liz who said, "I'm not a joyous person. I'm not terribly unhappy, but joyous would not describe me." And after the recent death of my son, I thought I would never feel anything again.
Yeah.
At first, I felt very much the same after accepting a 15-day free trial of FLFE, but after about a week, I began to feel joy. It cannot be described as an over-the-edge kind of joy, but a calm, enduring one. Since then, other expressions have materialized, such as tolerance and acceptance of others, better and easier decision-making, and feelings of overall happiness. Things you would expect from a higher level of consciousness. I'm grateful that I found FLFE. So that was one. Do you want to read Megan's, Clayton?
Sure. Yeah.
if you're ready.
Yes. So this is from Megan. This is a relatively long one, so I'll speak quickly. I have been in the FLFE field for approximately 3 weeks. We have it in our home and on our phones. When I first activated our home, I immediately felt what I could call a celestial energetic energy fill the space. It was like the air became crisp and pristine, like what you might experience at the top of a high-peaked mountain. Over the next few days, we witnessed the most amazing transformations in our 8-year-old daughter's behavior. She went from being a very challenging child prone to resistance, constant battling, and negative spirals that it was becoming increasingly more and more difficult to connect with her. And now she is someone who is more dominantly peaceful, happy, and harmonious. I feel like I have my daughter back. It was such a dramatic, beautiful shift that my husband and I are so grateful and committed to FLFE, as that answered a prayer and is an incredible miracle on its own. The longer I've stayed on FLFE, I have noticed what feels like a reservoir or a buffer of extra energy around me, which makes it easier for me to navigate through my daily experiences and challenging opportunities with greater joy and lightness of being. My husband pointed out to me that our experiences on FLFE are like the attributes of eye of the eye that David Hawkins wrote about in his book. We are less depleted and raw now that we are in the FLFE field and can more easily access being a witness and observer of the I, which equates for us being less reactive and more consciously responsive. This grace allows us to more easily be and reach for patience, peace, kindness, compassion, and love more consistently in our lives with less effort. Thank you.
Yeah. Especially the ones with the children are always so touching. So, we could back up a little bit about a high consciousness field, or what a field of consciousness might be, something that people aren't used to.
I'll just say, Jeffrey, that if you're not really understanding some of this, I don't know if you've ever had a situation, we had it in India, where you're just, as a tourist, you go in, and I went into this ashram where I just knew that we just wanted to stay there. We take off our shoes, we just wanted to stay there. There was something in the air, it seemed like, that just was so sacred and was so open, and we felt so good. This is a high consciousness of sacred places, and we're talking about placing that in various areas. Have I got that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, the high consciousness field is, or any consciousness field, so it's around any being, any person, and the materials in a place, like the crystalline structure in the soil or the building materials, just holds energy and holds the memory of what it occurred with other humans. So if you have a lot of humans praying in a place, that energy stays in the materials there, and it creates a field that's just there all the time. And you can feel that as you walk around the world if you go a place that maybe has a darker history, like an old battlefield or a prison, where it just feels heavy and you just feel like you don't have much energy. And I know when I go to a place like that, I just want to get out. You're kind of looking over your shoulder, like, is there something bad that's going to happen to me? So that's a lower consciousness field, and these fields may have different characteristics. Like you mentioned, some of these temples in India, they have different purposes. So you may go to a temple for abundance, for financial abundance, and so in the field, that consciousness field, you may have a high level of consciousness, but you also may have healing related to abundance. That by being in that field, you're interacting with that, and you may be healed in areas of not feeling worthy of receiving. So different fields can also have different characteristics. And the FLFE field, we built a whole number of different characteristics into it.
I love it. And one of the things I have noticed is that there is, starting with the prayer that we began the interview with, part of, I feel, your mission is to have benevolence as part of your business model. And one of the attributes I've taken advantage of is definitely you have a thing called paying it forward, where you can send a high consciousness field as a pay it forward way. So there might be listeners thinking, wow, we can do this with our own consciousness. It's true. That's part of Lynn McTaggart's Power of 8, where you do it. What I love about your device is it's 24/7. You don't have to think about it. It's there all the time. So just, I guess, tell us more.
What I like about it is it's measurable.
Yes.
Just as the engineer in me goes, well, we're feeling good. But on the Hawking scale, it's and with kinesiology too. Yeah, please stop. Sorry for the interruption.
You guys know the service pretty well, and you have good distinctions. One of the ways it can also be measured is through a gas discharge visualization camera, Lee, speaking to your inner engineer. And there's less entropy or chaos in a high consciousness environment. We've done studies with technicians. Actually, we use the same technician that Joe Dispenza used in his research on the effect of prayer during and meditations during his workshops. And we also did a study with the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And there was there's several of those. One of them was we activated the FLFE service in a Faraday cage room with like 3-inch steel thick walls that, the room was closed. So the high consciousness field activates through matter. And we were able to alter the random number generators in that Faraday cage. There's also a benefit to executive function or decision making and increased alpha waves or a more meditative state in the brain waves.
So for those who are listening and saying, what does random number generators have to do with anything? Random number generators is like a machine that rolls the dice, and it's always random. And if you start to make it not random, you have influenced it somehow with your consciousness.
So one of the other things we discovered along the way was that certain types of EMF are very positive, and certain types lower consciousness in an area. And we noticed this because we were checking the properties once a week, and we found that some properties were going down, that they weren't staying at the 560 that we expected. So we'd call the customer up and see what happened, and there may have been a cell tower, new cell tower, or a smart meter bank or something added, in the last week or two. So we knew that we needed to do something, because our mission is to have this pristine environment, this supportive environment for us to thrive, to rise in consciousness. And we see customers on average rise about 25 points on the Hawkins map in first 90 days.
Jeffrey, before we get too far into this, because I know the clock is running down, can we bring this to a place of how does the average listener here find out more about it and participate?
Yeah, so we're offering to people that come in through the Healing Wednesday to do 2 free trials. So there'll be a link down below, I believe, or you'll explain where that is. And if you go there, you'll be able to do a 15-day free trial of the FLFE service, either on your home or on a cell phone. So the cell phone service, as Lee said earlier, it creates a bubble around your phone that goes with you, so you can travel or go to work or wherever you go. You've got the bubble, the environment with you all the time. So you'll be able to do a free trial on your home, for instance, and then 15 days later, do one on your phone. So you really get a good 4 weeks of experience in the field. And we have a control panel that you would get in the first email So you can go on and you can be a consciousness experimenter. You can bring out your inner scientist there, and you can turn things on and off. You can change the level of consciousness, the support, through a slider function, a consciousness controller, so that you can also do a boost, which is a 600 on the Hawkins map.
Wow.
And as Monica said, as a subscriber, if you go through the free trial and you felt like you wanted to subscribe, it's $35 a month. That once you subscribe, you can then gift a subscription at a slightly lower level at 500. It's more of a simple field. It doesn't have all the other benefits in it, but you can gift that anywhere in the world. And
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world. I love that part. We used to, not too long ago, travel for a living. And we went some places that I know that this was with us. I just do, because they were not necessarily places I would ever have gone otherwise. And I felt great, you know? Yeah.
Have you noticed any changes within the device itself? Because it's responding to consciousness, the inventor and all of that. What's happened with that? I'm just curious.
I'll let Clayton take a crack at that one first.
Yeah. Well, it seems that the divine is trying to express through some of these new emergent technologies, such as ours. And the way that I would say I notice the changes in the technology is that we're able to discover things that help counter some of the benefits of modern day living. So, for example, we found a way to infuse the energetic signature of shungite into the environment to harmonize incoming consciousness lowering EMFs. So it seems that the way that the technology evolves is that we pray for help, we do a lot of research. So we have the Lee part of us and the Monica part of us. And we get help from a higher power, we believe, to be of service. And so there is that masculine, feminine aspect where we have to make an effort, and then we have to turn it over to God and ask for guidance. So I don't know if that answers your question, Monica.
It not only answers the question, I'm just sitting here going, this has come from an inventor with a technical mind, and it's just so interfaced with what we believe. And we are basically out of time. That was a good way to finish. It'd be interesting to see the reaction of our listeners to this. It's very, very different. And you've given them a wonderful opportunity to try it and see it, measure it for themselves, and thank you for that. That's one of the things that we almost insist on that brings you to our program. And so I would like to, we're gonna ask them for a final word, right?
Yeah, final summary for our listeners.
Well, grateful to be here with you and with all the Kryon community, and our FLFE community is of a similar mind, and the evolution of consciousness is our mission, and supporting that with this technology, and with that comes health and well-being, with greater health, greater